Hello, this is Robert from DSP Plug. Pure math is pretty great, but it's pretty rare that you'd have a need to use it. Why would you, per se? Maybe, I guess, to do things far faster than the speed of light, I guess. More on that. Within an applied math software, um, I made some audio function, but the mathematics can work for everything, no matter what. It's You could compare it to programmatic math, kind of like a program, but not stepwise, completely fluid. So what that would mean is there were no operator functions. You could put the comparison and the argument, right, with an effect. And that is linear math. There's nothing wrong about that. I can provide all of those calculations for equals or less than or more than. They're all accurate and they're all float math. It was pretty simple to do. And of course, multiplication can be replaced because it has bit shift, right? That's the interesting thing. You can put that into some kind of BIOS chip or something, and it can do math, right? Pretty exciting. But of course, with my computer ideas, oh, it really comes down to um, the quality of the storage medium, right? And also how the signal can only be one way. And when I say one way, I mean innately data can't be manipulated. And if it couldn't be manipulated, then it would be very safe for you and me. There might be a way. And the whole issue has surrounded with operating systems is that there's always something else running the operating system, checking for data incongruities, keeping an extra copy. And everything we think about processing is latency, isn't it? And when you really think about that, you realize that it's not necessarily the software that would have to have this amazing float math function argument, right? No, I mean, it would be at the base level. You want everything, think of how many calculations go on. See, that's why there's a finicky guy like me thinking about all that, right? That's what I do. That's what a guy like me does. And then that will be used, and then that will be used for software. So the software will do the same behind the scenes. It'll use a bit of that math just so it can process something simply. It's really simple. Instead of doing that, it's just like, I guess you could say it's like a way of providing a logic circuit in pure math. That's often been considered. But if you really think about it, even though it seems amazing, it's kind of what we have, but we've never had it at a level where it's pure math. If it was, it's such an effortless thing. People don't really consider that, but if the basics of programming were made into something that could construe all of the functions that we have today, right? All of them, and use an emulation. It could probably even be released by Windows or Mac. It could be something that would supersede all of the hardware requirements and continue to allow your computer to work well. Also, given the fact that this style of programming, as I'd already mentioned before, uh, has many other options too in the way of memory and storage. Without a doubt, what's always been holding us back is stepwise math. Recursive zeros is an it's a phenomenally insane idea. Recursive zeros solves a lot of things. But the only issue with recursive zeros is not that there was any error. In fact, it's brutal, but it is not necessarily completely linear. So if you were to think about that, you wouldn't have to rewrite math at all. You just have to find pure math to replace what we already had. You see, by replacing that function that requires various threads, you see, of process. And that process will pull data and such. But that's the great thing about linear math. Everything is slowly chained together automatically through the computer just with mathematical derivatives for each function. Then the amount of stuff going on in the background is really not much because in truth, the mathematical ability is only in the bytes, and even the processing of the math is kind of ridiculous. So when you really think about it, it's all of those really amazing functions going on in the background. When you're talking about code like this, sure, it has a bit of logic, but it's bare bones, right? You're just talking on the administrative functions, as it were, of the computer. It just keeps the disk operating. It has the same commands. It says delete this file and such. Very simple. Anyways, this is Robert from DSP Plug. Don't forget to subscribe if you like. It's always interesting to be able to really put something together. And and though I've been really hyped by this great idea of this kind of space train, it's really exciting. It's um, it's an idea that would take quite a while to implement. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it could be fast tracked. I think maybe a decade is possible, but it would ultimately take some initial money that could probably start on a municipal level in small ways. I mean, if a municipality was to think about the amount of steel for wiring and things like cell phone towers, to switch over to a system like this would allow, with junctions, you see, would allow all of this data to not require wire at all. With a system that actually creates power by inversion with a tesseract, various tesseracts. It's incredible the amount of power that could be stored with some of that medical grade hardened silicon. It's well beyond anything we're using now, but it's always been there. But apparently, it's needed. It's used for people who are in great need of it for certain types of surgeries, I think. So it's rare that people would make it, but nonetheless, it seems a very lucrative idea. Bye bye.